I've got to say that building a camper van to travel around the world is quite an exciting project. By this point, the foundation had been laid, the wiring for our off-grid studio had been run, the boring but oh so necessary preparation work had been carried out.
If a job's worth doing, it is worth doing well.
I thought it was finally time to start building my new tiny home from the ground up. But as I'm about to find out, there is a major issue with our new Kombi.
Okay, major disaster with the Kombi. Just come to my attention that this vehicle is not going to be able to arrive in Australia.
Back when we'd been searching for our new rig, we saw a lot of vintage vans, and when we first saw this Arizona desert high top, we were overjoyed with the permanent standing room. There was so much to take in and consider in the scorching desert heat when we were buying the bus that we'd overlooked one major issue: how the high top had been installed on the bus. We knew that this bus would tackle some tough roads on its journey across the planet, so we had devoted quite a lot of time to putting back in structural reinforcements that had been originally added by Volkswagen and foolishly removed at some point in its lifetime by a previous owner. But, as it transpires, our strengthening of Boomerang had not gone far enough.
Just come to my attention that this vehicle is not going to be able to arrive in Australia. There is absolutely zero chance in my mind now that this bus will be able to survive the journey for one key reason, and it's the reason I'm able to stand up right now. You see all of this space here? This high top, this roof has been removed so that the fiberglass high top can be put on there. And I've seen loads of buses like this, so I just figured it was okay, but I've been doing a bit of research, and this is not how Volkswagen intended for the vehicle to have a high top adaptation. The problem is there is now a huge loss of structural integrity with Boomerang. Basically, it's an open box going down the road and it's flexing too much, and I'm starting to see signs of that with the wear of the tyres and everything, that it's tweaking too much. I have now got to find a way to put that structural integrity back into the bus. Previously, when Volkswagen did their pop tops, Westphalias and some of their high tops, they had a support beam going across here, which was basically the foundation for the bed, and often they left the entire tin roof on top of the bus. That is obviously gone on this bus, which is great because we have all of that open space. It's terrible because now the bus tweaks and it's like an open box. Okay, this is our bus. It's basically twisting like this as it goes down the road, and that basically means that, you know, things that the frame could literally come out of alignment and we could be going down the road like a crab eventually. We certainly can't be taking this bus off-road, and definitely not on some of the roads that we're intending to. My God. So I am going to have to do some major fabrication to basically reinforce this bus so that it is strong enough.
There had been much work put into this Kombi, and at this point, I didn't even know if we could continue transforming our high top into an overland adventure rig. This was a major setback.
Yeah.
The other one and join on middle.
Well, it sounds like you know what you're doing.
I hope.
So first up, so step number one, I'm going to run massive aluminium bars down the side channels of the bus. So that's borrowing an idea from cabriolets as they reinforce the sides of the vehicle when they don't have a top. That is stage one. Stage two is to put back in a C-pillar arch going up the sides here, along the top, and down to join onto that bar to offer some structural rigidity in the middle of boomerang. Stage 3 is to reinforce the tail of the bus, to put a bar over the top of the rear arch and connect that at both sides into the main channel that runs along the length of the bus. And lastly, I'm going to connect those two bars to the B arch, which runs underneath the only remaining part of our Kombi roof, which is the front part over the cab. Thank God we've still got that. I'm also going to be doing some other modifications, such as putting additional triangular brackets in at the bottom of the C-pillar to stop the bus kind of flexing in on itself. Now, my South American bus actually had that already. Volkswagen thought that was a good idea, so I'm going to copy what they did. I'm also going to seal up these panels here behind the C-pillar to basically offer some additional strength. This was a mod that was seen on some of the off-road capable T3s, I think. And hopefully, with all of these modifications, we'll make it to Australia. But this is a huge setback, and it means I have to put the build on hold. I'm really glad that I thought about this now rather than later. It's a real pain in the ass that I have to put the build on hold, and I can't just crack on with it because I'm desperate to just see some progress. But I think that this is money in the bank, basically. This is totally worth the investment of time and the significant amount that it's going to cost to get that done locally on the island. But it should have been done like this properly in the first place, but it wasn't. So I'm putting it back and making Boomerang as strong as it can be so that we can actually make it to Australia and that we don't fall apart on the roads there, because that's what would have happened otherwise.
All of this faffing around making sure my Kombi was structurally sound was a pain in the arse. I should have been building the house. Instead, I was making sure it didn't shake apart. But I had to be certain that Boomerang is prepared for the world's roads and the tough journey to Australia.
So I've used aluminium for these pieces to reinforce the Kombi to keep the weight down, but you can't put aluminium with steel, you can't weld it, as you probably know. So your only options really are to fasten it with a bolt and a riv nut or use a rivet. Now, if you're using aluminium with steel, you have to be careful not to have galvanic corrosion, because basically the two metals react, they can't be sat next to each other. This is particularly important for all you boaters out there, as I'm sure you know, if there's any kind of moisture in the environment, cooking, condensation, anything like that, it will accelerate the corrosion. So you need to insulate between steel and aluminium. That's why I'm putting this rubber strip stuff that I'm wearing as a diaper right now in between the aluminium and the steel. And I'm also going to put a plastic straw on the rivets to make sure that there is no electrical connection between the aluminium and the steel, because once this goes in, I don't ever want to see it again. I don't want to be taking it out for maintenance. I don't want to deal with corrosion. I just want it to go in and live happily ever after. Do it right, do it once. It's always little jobs, man, you know, like it's the ones that you don't film, it's the ones that go in between the big parts that take all of the time. Like cutting stupid bits of gasket and insulation so that you don't get galvanic corrosion between aluminium and steel. You know, time-consuming bullshit that you basically don't want to bother people with. It just takes forever, man. Hello. Ben here, you know, that guy restoring this van really, really slowly. Well, it's flipping raining, and guess what, guys?
The window's leaking. Woo! Just what I fucking needed. I put so much effort into these windows. This is the only one that I didn't take out and fix because I thought I fixed it without removing it. But lo and behold, the rains are here and the rains are entering the Kombi. I've got a good mind to just stick a rag up there forevermore and just not worry about it, but I know that I should do something about it. It's another entire day to remove this, prep it, seal it, install it. It takes forever to do. It's very detailed work. There's a lot of glue on there already that needs to come off. It's a pain in the ass and I do not want to do it. So, insulation. I said insulation. This is the sheep's wool, rock wool, mineral wool that we are intending to use. Leah could probably explain to you the reasons why we've chosen the wool. Leah, can you explain?
So why did we choose wool for our insulation? There are a ton of materials out there that you can use to insulate your vehicle, and we did research them quite a bit. The benefits of wool for us though was that we were able to use it in all the little nooks and crannies in the van. Our van has like a lot of holes and little sections that would be hard to use any rigid foam or rigid material for insulation. So for us, insulating the vehicle with wool was enabling us to use it everywhere, not just in certain parts of the van.
Baba black sheep, have you any wool? No, you bloody stole it all.
One of the big benefits for the wool is that it is a breathable material and it can absorb moisture from the air and the condensation from the van walls. It also has natural mold resistance and it's naturally fire resistant. So if it does catch on fire, if you do put a flame next to the wool, it kind of just curls up on itself and doesn't spread. We'll see how it goes. We don't know how perfect it will be, but for us, they're the reasons why they were the best options. Well, better than having the rigid material as insulation. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it will all work okay. Hopefully. Back to you, Ben.
Leah, could do with a hand. One hour later, and 3 staple guns later. Only 3 arms. There, like that. It's not pretty, but I don't actually give up. I've been up and down this van with a hose to test that it was watertight before I started all of this crap. Why is there now a puddle of water at the bottom of my insulation? What the actual... It's soaking wet. Where the f is that coming from? From the seam of the van. Even though we'd now taken all possible steps to strengthen Boomerang, the results of too much flex were still showing through. Here, where the seam seal had cracked during the flex, water was now seeping in between the panels and pooling on the floor inside the bus. For f***'s sake. this anymore. I'll be using birch plywood for our build. It's not my first choice. I would have liked a lightweight plywood specifically designed for mobile homes. It is much more expensive, but I did the calculations, and with the number of miles we were intending on driving, the weight saving would have saved us thousands of dollars in fuel costs alone. Unfortunately, lightweight plywood isn't available on my island. So I'll be using the thinnest possible plywood that I can get away with to keep the weight to a minimum. One of the shitty things about being in Jersey is we don't get good quality wood here. This piece of wood is damned expensive. It costs as much, if not more. In fact, it definitely costs more than any wood in the UK, mainland, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, all those places. But in Jersey, we don't get the top quality wood. We don't even get the second quality wood. We get thirds, which means... Can you see these defects? You see these defects here in the wood on both sides. These defects are on both sides. That's pretty disappointing. Wouldn't be so bad if you were paying third grade price, but when you're paying top quality price for like this sheet of wood costs like 40 quid. I don't have a lot of experience working with wood. Several years earlier, I had dabbled with some basic carpentry in Chile whilst building my first camper van for the Astra Alaska project. But I'm still most definitely an amateur. Routering, that's a first for me. This is a router, apparently. Woo! That's like fun. At times, the process can be frustrating. Sometimes things don't turn out as well as you thought they might. Still, there is something very satisfying about building something with your own hands, especially something that will add significant value to your life. And overall, setbacks aside, this experience is immensely enjoyable. Go on, you can open the door for the first time. Woohoo! Now we just got to figure out how to put a hinge on there. Hello, cupboard. Right, let's talk varnish for a second. You can see panels all around me. This here is birch plywood. It does have a nice grain. It's very pale though, so we want to add a bit of colour to that. That's what the bare wood looks like. I have been experimenting with burning some wood. This is, you can see basically it's the same wood. This is really scorched. On the right side is less scorched, or scorched and then sanded back. I quite like it. It might be nice for some features, but I think I'm going to go with just kind of a plain like varnish. Personally, I like this grain, and I'm not really a big fan of how this is hiding it. Colour, yes. Grain, boom. This kind of light oak, honey mustardy style is the kind of tone that we're going to be going for with the majority of the wood in the Kombi. I quite like it. It looks a little bit like Capito, so I got a bit of nostalgia going on. I like that. The grain came up pretty well considering it's not the best quality wood. This is a varnish with a wood stain in it at the same time, so it's basically doing two jobs at once. It's water based, which to be perfectly honest doesn't give as good a look, a finish as oil based products, but I couldn't find one that had a stain in it that was oil based, so it would have required me to stain the panels first and then oil base clear varnish on top of that, and there's quite a good chance that I wouldn't be able to mix the same kind of staining ratio for all of the different panels, because I'm doing them as I get to them, like rather than having them all cut and doing them all in one go, which would be nice, but this van is getting built kind of piecemeal, one bit at a time. So I've gone for that water-based stuff. Oil is a really nice finish
for wood, and I would have liked to do something like Danish oil because it does give a really nice finish. But the problem with oil is you have to keep like touching it up pretty much every year, and some of these panels and bits of wood are going to be in places that I'm not going to be able to get to, and certainly I'm not going to want to get to in a year's time, so no oil on those panels.
With all the setbacks in the build, I had felt like progress was slow coming, and there had been some disheartening moments.
Alright, shelf, rear shelf going in.
But getting this first storage completed was a huge morale booster. We had started building our home. This would be Leah's cupboard, but she is still 8,000 miles away. It had already been a couple of months since she had left, with no sign of her return.
Auntie.
The time zone difference and long distance was seriously taking its toll, and cracks were starting to show. But that is a story for next time. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, we highly recommend that you subscribe for the series, and between you and us, we're creating a really cool and very unique adventure docu-series, so you can join us on the ride from your home as we cross the planet together. We'd love you to be a part of it. If you haven't seen all of the episodes in this bingeable series, we'll link them on the screen now. And for those of you who are channel members and patrons, you can click the Kombi Crew icon to access over 150 unlisted posts, with more coming every month. And also you can add your own locations to our interactive Kombi Crew map so that we can meet up when we come through your town. You can join the Kombi Crew and help us create this series from as little as $2 per month. Even if you join for a month to see what it's all about, we'd really appreciate it. Cheers guys.